The lieutenant they called a scandal. Stand at attention, Lieutenant Hayes. I stood there, trembling, as 300 soldiers watched me being stripped of my dignity. You are hereby relieved of all duties pending investigation into allegations of conduct unbecoming an officer. My best friend smiled from the crowd. She had won. Or so she thought. I am Lieutenant Emma Grace Hayes. And this is the story of how a lie almost destroyed my career, how jealousy turned friendship into warfare, and how the truth, when it finally emerged, didn't just save me. It destroyed the woman who tried to destroy me. This isn't just a love story. This isn't just a military drama. This is about what happens when innocence is weaponized, when rumors become ammunition, and when one woman's desperation to win a man's heart leads her to burn down another woman's entire life. Welcome to Silent Platoon Revenge. My name is Emma Grace Hayes. And this is how I survived the scandal that should have ended me. Before the storm. Fort Bragg, North Carolina. 6 months before my world collapsed. I was 28 years old, a first lieutenant in the United States Army with 4 years of service and a spotless record. My days were filled with training exercises, paperwork, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing I was exactly where I was supposed to be. I loved being a soldier. Not because of the glory, there isn't much of that in peacetime logistics coordination. Not because of the power, a lieutenant has just enough rank to be responsible for everything and authority over almost nothing. I loved it because it gave me purpose. My parents died when I was 17, a car accident on a rainy highway that took them both in an instant. My uncle, Colonel Robert Hayes, became my guardian. He was career Army, stern but kind, and he never pushed me toward military service. But when I graduated college and felt lost, he simply said, "Emma, the Army doesn't just build soldiers, it builds character. If you're searching for who you're meant to be, you might find her in uniform." He was right. By the time I arrived at Fort Bragg, Uncle Robert had already transferred to Fort Hood, Texas. We spoke every few weeks, brief, warm conversations where he'd ask about my career, and I'd ask about his wife and kids, my cousins. He never pulled strings for me, never made a single phone call on my behalf. I earned every promotion, every commendation, every ounce of respect through my own work. But no one knew Colonel Hayes was my uncle. Military bases are small worlds, and gossip travels faster than orders. Uncle Robert and I had agreed early on, our family connection would remain private, not secret exactly, but not broadcast. "You don't want anyone questioning whether you earned your place, Emma," he'd said. "Make your own reputation first, the truth can come out later." So I kept it quiet. That decision would nearly destroy me. And then there was Victoria. Lieutenant Victoria Morgan arrived at Fort Bragg 3 months after me, confident, beautiful, ambitious. We clicked immediately. She was from Atlanta, fierce and funny, with the kind of charisma that made people gravitate toward her. We became inseparable. Late-night conversations in the barracks about our dreams, our frustrations, our fears. Weekend trips into town where we'd pretend to be normal 20-somethings instead of Army officers. She was the sister I never had, the best friend I'd always wanted. "You and me, Emma," she'd say, grinning over coffee. "We're going to be the first female generals from our class. Watch." I believed her. I trusted her completely. And then Captain Daniel Cross arrived. The captain. Captain Daniel Cross was everything a soldier should be: disciplined, intelligent, respectful, and quietly heroic. At 32, he'd already served 2 tours in Afghanistan, earned a Bronze Star, and gained a reputation as the kind of officer soldiers would follow into hell. He was also devastatingly handsome. Not in an obvious way, his features were strong rather than pretty, his demeanor serious rather than charming. But there was something magnetic about him. The way he listened when you spoke, as if your words actually mattered. The way he commanded respect without demanding it. Every woman on base noticed Captain Cross. But he noticed me first. It started innocently. He was assigned to oversee a joint logistics operation I was coordinating. We worked together for 3 weeks, long days of planning, problem-solving, and the kind of professional partnership that slowly becomes something more. He never crossed a line, never made an inappropriate comment or gesture. But I felt it, the weight of his gaze when he thought I wasn't looking, the way his voice softened slightly when he said my name, the professional distance that felt like it was held in place by sheer willpower. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, we were the last two in the office. He looked up from his paperwork and said simply, "Lieutenant Hayes, I want you to know I think you're an exceptional officer." "Thank you, sir." And he paused, choosing words carefully. "I want you to know that I respect you too much to let anything compromise your career or mine, but when this operation concludes and you're no longer under my direct supervision, I'd like permission to take you to dinner. As Daniel, not as Captain Cross." My heart stopped. "I'd like that very much, sir." He smiled, a rare, genuine smile that transformed his entire face. "Then we have something to look forward to, Lieutenant." I should have kept it to myself. But Victoria was my best friend, and I was too happy to hide it. That night, back in our shared quarters, I told her everything. "Vicky, you won't believe what happened." She squealed, grabbed my hands, bounced on her bunk like we were teenagers. "Tell me everything, leave nothing out." So I did, every word, every look, every moment. She hugged me. "Emma, this is amazing, you deserve this, you deserve him." Her smile was bright and warm and perfect. I didn't see the shadow behind her eyes. The operation concluded 2 weeks later. Captain Cross asked me to dinner, formal and proper, through official channels to ensure no regulations were violated. Our first date was magical. A small Italian restaurant off base, conversation that flowed like we'd known each other for years, laughter that felt like coming home. He was everything I'd hoped and more, thoughtful, kind. He asked about my dreams, my fears, my past. He listened to stories about my parents with genuine compassion. "They'd be proud of you, Emma," he said quietly. "I hope so. I know so." When he dropped me back at base, he didn't kiss me, just held my hand for a moment and said, "I'd very much like to see you again." "Yes," I whispered, "yes, please." I floated back to my quarters. Victoria was waiting. "How was it?" she demanded. "Perfect, he's perfect, Vicky. Tell me everything." So again I did. And again. I didn't see the jealousy festering behind her smile. The rival. It started subtly. Victoria began dressing differently, more makeup, hair styled instead of the usual military bun, perfume that lingered. She found excuses to be wherever Captain Cross was, volunteering for assignments that put her in his path, laughing too loudly at his comments during briefings, asking him questions she already knew the answers to. At first, I thought I was imagining it. Then I thought it was harmless, just Vicky being friendly. But Daniel noticed. "Emma," he said carefully one evening, "Lieutenant Morgan seems to be around a lot lately. She's my best friend, we're close. I understand, but I want you to know I'm not interested in her. I'm interested in you, only you." "I know that, Daniels." "Good, because I get the feeling she might not understand that." He was right. 2 months into our relationship, Victoria's mask slipped. We were in our quarters, and I was getting ready for another date with Daniel. She watched me from her bunk, expression unreadable. "You're seeing him again." "Of course, why?" "Don't you think you're moving kind of fast? I mean, you barely know him." I turned, surprised. "Vicky, I thought you were happy for me." "I am, I worry about you, Em. You know how it is. Officers dating can get complicated, people talk." "Let them talk, we're not breaking any regulations." She was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Just be careful, okay, you have a lot to lose." There was something in her voice I'd never heard before. Something cold. The transformation happened over the next month. Victoria stopped being my friend and became my competitor. She started making subtle digs, comments about my work that sounded like compliments but left barbs. Questions about my relationship with Daniel that felt more like interrogations. "How did you even catch his attention, Emma? I mean, you're sweet, but you're so quiet, I'm surprised he even noticed you." "Maybe he likes quiet. Maybe, or maybe there's something else, some advantage you have that I don't know about." The insinuation hung in the air. "What are you saying, Vicky?" Nothing, God, don't be so sensitive, I'm just saying you got lucky. Really, really lucky. Then came the night everything broke. A group of officers gathered at the on-base recreation center, informal, just drinks and conversation after a long week. Daniel and I were there, so was Victoria. She positioned herself near Daniel all evening, laughing, touching his arm, leaning close when she spoke. He was polite but distant, constantly redirecting conversation back to include me. Finally, frustrated, Victoria downed her drink and said loudly, "You know, Captain Cross, I've always wondered, what made you ask Emma out? I mean, no offense, Em, but there are a lot of officers on this base. What made her special?" The room went quiet. Daniel's expression hardened. "Lieutenant Morgan, that's an inappropriate question." "Is it? I'm just curious. Because from what I hear, Emma's always had a way of getting special treatment. Makes a girl wonder." My stomach dropped. "Vicky, I mean, think about it. She gets the best assignments, the smoothest career track, glowing evaluations, and now she lands the most eligible captain on base. It's almost like someone's been pulling strings for her." Daniel stood. "Lieutenant, that's enough." But Victoria was past caring. Jealousy and alcohol had loosened her tongue, and months of resentment poured out. Or maybe I'm wrong, maybe she's just that perfect. Little Emma Grace who can do no wrong. Tell me, Emma, how does it feel to have everyone fooled? I should have defended myself. I should have walked away. Instead, I just stared at her, this woman I'd trusted, who I'd thought was my sister, and felt something inside me break. Daniel took my hand. "We're leaving." As we walked out, I heard Victoria mutter, "The truth always comes out eventually." It was a threat, and she meant every word. The accusation. The formal complaint was filed 3 days later. Lieutenant Victoria Morgan accused me of conduct unbecoming an officer and a gentleman, specifically, of using an inappropriate personal relationship with a superior officer to advance my career. The superior officer in question, Colonel Robert Hayes. My uncle, the former base commander who had transferred to Texas 6 months before I even arrived. But Victoria didn't know he was my uncle. No one did. And in the military, perception is reality. The accusation was specific and damning. Victoria claimed that during Colonel Hayes' time as commander, I had engaged in an inappropriate romantic or sexual relationship with him, in exchange for favorable assignments, evaluations, and recommendations. She claimed that soldiers had witnessed suspicious behavior, private meetings, closed-door conversations, familiar body language. She claimed that my exemplary record was not earned, but gifted by a commanding officer who showed clear favoritism. She claimed that Captain Cross should know the truth about the woman he was dating. And because Colonel Hayes had transferred and couldn't easily be reached for immediate comment, because there were no official records of our family relationship on file, because Victoria presented her case with tears and righteous indignation. The command believed her. I was called into the base commander's office, Colonel Patricia Martinez, stern and uncompromising. "Lieutenant Hayes, you are hereby placed on administrative leave pending a full investigation into allegations of conduct unbecoming an officer. You will surrender your access credentials and report daily until this matter is resolved. Do you understand?" "Ma'am, this is a mistake." "Do you understand, Lieutenant?" "Yes, ma'am." "You're dismissed." I walked out of that office into a nightmare. The disgrace. The military runs on reputation. Lose your reputation, lose everything. Within hours, everyone knew. The whispers started immediately. "Did you hear about Lieutenant Hayes? Sleeping with the commander for promotions. I always thought she rose too fast. And now she's with Captain Cross, girl gets around." I walked through base feeling 300 pairs of eyes on me, judging, condemning, destroying me without trial. Soldiers who had respected me now avoided eye contact. Officers who had mentored me now treated me like a disease. My closest colleagues, except for a few loyal souls, distanced themselves, protecting their own careers from my scandal. Even Captain Cross was warned to stay away from me during the investigation. I was isolated, humiliated, branded. And Victoria. She played the concerned whistleblower beautifully. I didn't want to report it, she told anyone who would listen, eyes glistening with false tears. Emma was my best friend, but I couldn't let her deceive people anymore. The truth had to come out, it was my duty. She was celebrated as courageous. I was condemned as corrupt. The formal hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks later. 2 weeks of hell. I spent those days in my quarters, permitted only to report daily to the JAG office and await further instructions. No duties, no purpose, no dignity. Just waiting. Daniel tried to contact me, messages, notes left at my door, but I couldn't face him. What if he believed the accusations? What if even he doubted me? I couldn't bear to see uncertainty in his eyes. So I remained silent, alone. Exactly what Victoria wanted. The night before the hearing, I finally called my uncle. Emma, his voice was alarmed. I've been trying to reach you for days. What the hell is going on? I got a call from Fort Bragg asking about our relationship. Uncle Robert, I'm so sorry. I never meant for this to happen. And I told him everything. The friendship with Victoria, the relationship with Daniel, the jealousy, the accusation, the investigation. He was silent for a long moment after I finished. Then Emma listened to me very carefully. This ends tomorrow. I'm flying to Fort Bragg tonight. We're going to walk into that hearing together and we're going to end this nightmare. Do you understand? Yes, sir. And Emma, you did nothing wrong. Nothing. That woman tried to destroy you because she's jealous and cruel, but she made one critical mistake. What's that? She forgot that the truth is louder than lies, and tomorrow everyone's going to hear it. The revelation. The hearing room was packed. Command staff, JAG officers, witnesses and soldiers, so many soldiers there to watch my career end. Victoria sat at the front, composed and confident. She'd already given her testimony, painting me as a manipulative woman who seduced a commanding officer for professional gain. I sat alone at the defendant's table, hands folded, heart pounding. Colonel Martinez called the hearing to order. Lieutenant Hayes, you stand accused of conduct unbecoming an officer. Before we proceed with your testimony, do you have anything to say? I stood. Yes, ma'am, I'd like to call a witness. Who? The doors opened. Colonel Robert Hayes walked in, dress uniform immaculate, bearing commanding. The room fell silent. Victoria's face went white. Colonel Hayes, Colonel Martinez said, surprised. We weren't expecting you until later in the proceedings. With respect, ma'am, I believe I should speak first. Very well, please state your relationship to the accused. He stood beside me, placed a hand on my shoulder and said clearly, Lieutenant Emma Grace Hayes is my niece, my brother's daughter. I became her legal guardian when her parents died 11 years ago. I have been her uncle, her family, her entire life. The room erupted. Colonel Hayes raised his hand for silence. During my tenure as commander of this base, Lieutenant Hayes was not yet stationed here. We had no professional overlap, no chain of command relationship, no opportunity for favoritism of any kind. The private meetings and suspicious behavior Lieutenant Morgan claims to have witnessed, family conversations, an uncle checking on his niece during a difficult assignment, nothing more. Lieutenant Hayes and I agreed to keep our family relationship private, not secret, but private, so that she could build her career on her own merit without anyone questioning whether she received special treatment. And she did exactly that. Every evaluation, every assignment, every commendation she earned was based solely on her exceptional performance. I had no input whatsoever. He turned to Victoria. The accusations made by Lieutenant Morgan are not only false, they are malicious. This is not whistleblowing, this is character assassination driven by jealousy. Victoria shot to her feet. That's not true, I was trying to protect. Protect who, Lieutenant? Colonel Hayes's voice was ice. Lieutenant Hayes, or were you trying to destroy her so you could pursue Captain Cross yourself? Dead silence. Yes, he continued. I'm aware of your romantic interest in Captain Cross. I'm aware that he rejected you. I'm aware that when he chose Lieutenant Hayes, you decided to ruin her rather than accept defeat with grace. Victoria's face crumbled. I didn't mean. You filed a formal complaint accusing an innocent officer of career-ending misconduct. You weaponized the military justice system for personal revenge. That's not only despicable, Lieutenant Morgan, it's a violation of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. Colonel Martinez stood. Lieutenant Morgan, did you knowingly file false charges? I thought. Tears streamed down Victoria's face now, real ones born of panic and shame. I just wanted. He was supposed to choose me. Did you file false charges, Lieutenant? Yes, ma'am. The vindication. The hearing concluded in my favor within the hour. All charges dismissed. Full reinstatement with apologies from command. And Victoria. Lieutenant Victoria Morgan was formally reprimanded for filing false charges, conduct unbecoming an officer, and abuse of the military justice system. Her security clearance was suspended. Her career trajectory, once promising, was effectively over. And within the week she received orders, immediate transfer to Fort Polk, Louisiana, the Army's least desirable posting where careers go to die. She was being exiled. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I just felt tired. The vindication was sweet, yes, but the damage had been done. My reputation, while officially cleared, would always carry whispers. Some people would always wonder, always doubt. That's the cost of false accusations. Even when proven false, the stain remains. But then Daniel found me. I was in the courtyard outside the admin building, sitting on a bench, staring at nothing. Zemmer. I looked up. He was there in uniform, expression gentle. Daniel, He sat beside me, took my hand. I never doubted you, not for 1 second. But the accusations were lies. I knew they were lies the moment I heard them. Because I know you, Emma, I know your character, I know your heart. Tears I'd been holding for 2 weeks finally broke free. She was my best friend, how could she do this? Because she's not who you thought she was. People show you who they are when they can't have what they want. She showed you. I was so scared you'd believe her. He lifted my chin gently. Emma Grace Hayes, I love you, not because of your rank or your career or who your uncle is. I love you because you're kind, brilliant, strong and real. And no lie, no accusation, no rumor could ever change that. Yous love me. I love you. I kissed him then in the middle of the base, not caring who saw. I love you too, I whispered against his lips. The aftermath. Victoria left Fort Bragg 3 days later. I didn't go to see her off. Some people thought I should, that I should be the bigger person, offer forgiveness, let her leave with dignity. But I had given her my trust. My friendship, my secrets. She had tried to destroy me. Forgiveness would come eventually, perhaps, but not yet, not when the wound was still fresh. I heard through the grapevine that she cried the entire drive to Louisiana, that she tried to apologize through intermediaries, but I refused all contact. Let her live with what she'd done. Let her understand the consequences of weaponizing lies. Life returned to normal slowly. My fellow officers, once they understood the truth, were apologetic, some genuinely, some awkwardly. I accepted their apologies with grace, though trust would take time to rebuild. Uncle Robert returned to Texas, but not before having a long conversation with Colonel Martinez about protecting officers from malicious accusations. New protocols were put in place, faster investigation timelines, harsher penalties for false reporting. Victoria's attempted destruction of me had inadvertently made the system better for everyone. Small comfort, but comfort nonetheless. Daniel and I continued dating, now openly and without fear. 6 months later he proposed. 1 year later we were married in a small ceremony on base. Uncle Robert walked me down the aisle, my cousins stood as bridesmaids, and my fellow officers filled the pews. As I said my vows to Daniel Cross, I thought about how close I'd come to losing everything. How one woman's jealousy had nearly destroyed my career, my reputation, my future. But in the end, the truth had won. Not because I fought for it, though I would have, but because I had built my life on integrity, and integrity cannot be permanently buried by lies. I am now Captain Emma Grace Cross. Yes, I made captain, on my own merit, through my own work. Daniel is a major now, stationed at Fort Benning. We have a daughter, 3 years old, bright-eyed and fearless. We named her Grace, for second chances, for undeserved mercy, for truth that persists even when buried. I think about Victoria sometimes. I heard she left the army after her required service was up. Couldn't handle the stigma of Fort Polk, couldn't rebuild her reputation after what she'd done. Part of me feels sorry for her. She destroyed her own career in her attempt to destroy mine. But mostly I feel nothing. She made her choice, faced her consequences. That's not revenge, that's just justice. To anyone listening who's ever been falsely accused, hold on to the truth. Document everything, stay calm, let the process work. The lies will unravel, they always do. Because truth is patient, truth is stubborn. And truth in the end is unstoppable. To anyone who's ever felt jealous enough to hurt someone, stop, take a breath, recognize what you're feeling. Then choose to be better than your worst impulse. Because when you weaponize lies against someone, you don't just hurt them. You destroy yourself. This is silent platoon revenge. Where betrayal is met with truth. Where lies are exposed by time. And where justice, no matter how delayed, always finds its mark. I'm Captain Emma Grace Cross, and this was my story. But it's not just mine. It belongs to every soldier who's been falsely accused. Every officer who survived character assassination. Every person who held on to truth when everyone else believed the lies. Your truth is your weapon. Your integrity is your armor. And your patience will vindicate you in the end. Hit subscribe if you believe that truth, even when buried, eventually rises. And tell me in the comments, have you ever been falsely accused? How did you survive it? Until next time, remember, truth doesn't need to shout. It just needs to wait. No courtrooms, no mercy, just justice.